Hi. So, it's been a while, and I don't know if everyone feels this way, but whenever it's been a while, I feel the need to explain some things. um, yeah. Beginning of February, the mental health wasn't doing so good, depression wise. Then I got a little better. Then an incident happened, which I thought about publicly sharing because it's a pretty big incident. It happens to people on the internet. I mean, probably more people than we know because people don't want to talk about it. And I thought about talking about it. And I decided I am not going to publicly talk about it. It is a very scary situation. I just talked about it privately with friends, with family. Had to get my family involved, just people that I know, for my safety. But eventually, I just came to the conclusion that I do not want to make it a public thing for potentially the whole world to see. But yes, I was very much feeling unsafe. I still do kind of feel unsafe. I was having very serious panic attacks, anxiety, PTSD flashbacks, and just feeling scared. So that's all I'm gonna say, but today I finally felt like actually uploading some stuff, so I'm gonna try to stay positive and have a somewhat runny nose, apparently. Attractive. Um, but yeah, I haven't really talked that much about books lately, and I want to. So, I participated in two reading events. That's four. Two reading events in January and February, and I haven't really talked about them, so it's gonna be kind of a long video, I'm guessing, since I've already been talking for 3 minutes. So no hard feelings if you don't want to sit down for this one. But yeah, I thought, for the sake of trying to participate in these reading events, I tried to go through them. So yeah, I attempted to do Courtney from Tangible Reads boot camp reading event. And the first prompt was dumbbells, read a banned book, which I failed. I really thought it was going to be the month where I finally read Clockwork Orange, but yeah, I'm a dumbbell and I failed. And the second prompt was Hummer, read a book with a military character. I also failed. I got really far through the audiobook for Starship Troopers and I was so bored. Like, I think I only had like maybe a quarter of the book left, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I am not enjoying this book at all. Like, if you read it and you liked it, good on you, but it is just info dump military tactics, like on and on and on. And I was like, oh my god, like, and I'm just like, I'm not doing this year. Like, I am not forcing myself to read books that I don't want to read. So, yeah, I DNF Starship Troopers, and then I didn't get around to finding another military book. But 3, Class A, was graphic novels, and I read 5 volumes of Demon Slayer. This isn't the one, any of the ones that I read. I think I read 11 through 15. But yeah, I am pretty invested in this series. I feel like I've talked about it quite a bit, but basically it's about a boy who lives in a pretty secluded area. His family is slaughtered by demons, which in this world they're kind of like vampires, but they eat people and they can turn people into demons. And one of his sisters gets turned into a demon, but she's kind of a special demon because she doesn't want to eat him. And it's a big old adventure. It's 23 volumes long, so obviously a lot more than that happens, but anyways, I completed that prompt. Okay. And then prompt 4 was sprints, exercise for 30 minutes, and I did that several times. I did get sick, so I didn't do it as much as I wanted, but yeah. And then Burpee, read a book by a BIPOC author. And I read The Taking of Jake Livingston. I want to make sure I get the author's name right. One sec. Sorry, I did this one on audio. So, The Taking of Jake Livingston is by Ryan Douglas. I really enjoyed this book. So, it is about a young man who he's got a lot going on in his life for a kiddo. He is a medium. His mother moves him and his brother to a new area of town for a better life after leaving his abusive father. He is bullied at school. So he's got it's kind of a two-way thing. There's these real life issues going on with racism. It's also a LGBTQ plus novel. And then he can see he's getting kind of pulled into this. They called it a ghoul. It's kind of like a ghost. Like he's getting pulled into this kid who's died's kind of nightmarish world where he's trying to kind of get him to repeat his violent actions. So it is like a YA horror. But it does also have a lot of good messages about unconditional love and acceptance and empathy, true empathy, and how much empathy can you have for someone who does terrible things. And I think that the character of Jake was just very beautifully represented as just this kid who had so much going on, but he had so much empathy and love, and I highly recommend it. Okay, and then prompt 6, squat, go somewhere new. I went to quite a few new places in January. But I don't want to talk too much about them because I've been online dating and yeah, I just kind of want to keep that private, okay? Yeah, okay. Moving on. Prompt 7. Read a book over 400 pages. I feel like I read a book that was almost 400 pages. It was Finders Keepers by Stephen King, which is the second in the Bill Hodges trilogy, so can I count it? Maybe. Technically, it's not, though. If it had been the first book, Mr. Mercedes, that one is over 400 pages, but we read that in December, so what can you do? Okay, a low crawl, read a book under 100 pages. I read It's Me and Charlie, and this book doesn't seem as fun now after what I've been through, but why am I laughing? I shouldn't be laughing. This is about an online stalker who he is using a fake profile to always talk to his favorite author on like Instagram, and he like pretends to be a girl on Instagram and gains a lot of her trust and knows where she lives and everything. And he is planning to surprise her with his real identity and get her to fall in love with him. Isn't that a great plan? Oh my god. Charlie, great job. Okay. Prompt 9, classics, horror or erotica. Okay, like obviously I read horror, but I decided to go for an erotica too because like I don't read that as much, and I read Lizzie's Flower Glizzy by B.L. Overman. Yes, the cover is covered because that is a deck right on the cover. This book was such a wild ride. Okay, it was hilarious. Of course, I got it recommended by my very good friend Bad is Brad, and this is about a girl who finds a flower that is shaped like a deck growing on her property, and she decides to, play with it with a certain part of her body, and then she has her friends over and they all decide to play with it because, of course, that's what we girls do at our senior sleepovers in high school. And then terrible things happen after that. Hilarious. I think you should probably just read this because it's hilarious and disgusting. Okay, and finally, Reveille audiobook. I did have one more, which was Blender Babies by John Athen. Yeah, sorry I'm not popping up pictures, but I'm rusty, dusty, and I have a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm tired. But yeah, Blender Babies by John Athen. Yeah, people discover that if you blend babies, that baby juice makes you have the greatest high ever. So there's a whole apocalypse because people are going crazy for drinking babies. Yeah, I couldn't, like, okay, I've read 3 John Athen books now, and 2 of them have horribly disturbed me, but this one I just couldn't take seriously. Like, I know it's supposed to be like disgusting and shocking, but like I was just like like I'm sorry. I was laughing. Like, it was so ridiculous. Like, I will say the very last sentence of it chilled me, but the rest of it, I couldn't take it seriously. I was just like, baby juice, really? Like, nobody wants meth anymore. They just want baby juice. Okay. And then other books that I read this month, I'll try not to talk too much about this one because I did a whole review on it. But me and Bad did decide to continue our Chandler Morrison journey and read Until the Sun. This might be my favorite Chandler Morrison, okay? Vampires done so fun. That rhymed. Vampires done so fun in Until the Sun. And yes, I did say in the review I absolutely loved reading it along with the audiobook, which was a choice I made because I was sick while I read this and I thought that would help me absorb it better. Yeah, I mean, I did a whole review, so I'm just gonna skip talking about this one, but yeah, you should definitely read this. I loved it. If you're into that. And then, yeah, I was feeling like I read a lot of gross stuff, so I read this randomly. Shivers, The Enchanted Attic. So apparently this was popular, this series around the same time as Goosebumps, but I never read it as a kid. I just found these at a used toy store and I was a little curious. But this is about a family that moves into an old house and like I don't know what else to say without spoilers except for the kind of little creepy things go on and the two young girls in the house find it. There's like little statues that kind of move around. I don't know. It was really cute. Just like not quite as spooky as Goosebumps. It's like even younger audience than Goosebumps, I felt like. But maybe if I read another book, because I have the first three, maybe they get a little spookier. I don't know. Okay, and then moving on to February, I attempted to do the Gothic Hearts reading event created by Regina at Regina's Haunted Library, with her many co-hosts, of course. Unfortunately, this is where I kind of dipped into depression. So, and I had been looking forward to this event for a really long time, so that just makes it even more disappointing. But we'll see what I accomplished. I definitely did more on audio than physically. I only read 3 physical books in February, and I'd love to say, well, it's a short month, but we had 29 days this month, so it's like, you have like one less day. But anyways, prompt 1 was Dracula. Read a book with a vampire love interest. Okay, I read Dracula in Love by Karen Essex. Okay. If you like Dracula and Gothic romance, I really think you should read this one. I loved it. It was told from Mina Harker's point of view. It is quite feminist, I would say, with a very strong female leading roles. Oh my god, the men in this story, so many of them are just fucking terrible. Oh my god, I hated them. But I highly, highly recommend it. And then 2, Wuthering Heights, read a story with a large estate. And I'm very happy to say that I got to read E.D. Lewis's The Curse of Ridge House. I'm just happy. I'm just so happy that I made it a goal to read my friends' books this year, and I really did enjoy this book. So this is about a young woman who decides to take a job with another woman who lives in this house. Right here. And yeah, there's just a lot of kind of sadness and mysteriousness that's surrounding this place. And there's like tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy, mystery. Of course, there is romance. And I really thought that it read like a modern day Dark Shadows novel, which of course is very high praise. I know that Edie is a big fan, and I have read the first 3 Dark Shadows, and yeah, that's what I would compare it to. So I very, very much did enjoy this, and I have a sticky because there was just something in here, a line that I really thought was beautiful, so I'm going to read it. I thought my heart was lost, or at least parts of it, as though when it broke, pieces floated away and vanished into some abyss. Every day I see you, I thank God, the creator of the universe, or whatever it is, because the sight of you, your presence, sends me floating, soaring even. Now that's romance. Okay, prompt 3, Jane Eyre, a story with a governess. Okay, The Wife in the Attic by Rose Lerner. Okay, this is actually a Jane Eyre retelling. So a young woman comes to be a governess to a pretty much single father. His wife is supposedly very, very sick and can't even get out of bed. So she's kind of just totally bedridden and sick. I don't really want to say any more of that for spoiler reasons. But you can definitely read this without reading Jane Eyre. So if you don't want to read a classic, you can still read this. When I read the bad reviews though, like I don't get it. I don't understand people who say that they want retellings of their favorite stories and then get mad when they get changes in characters and actual retellings. Like, yeah, I don't get that. But I gave this 5 stars. I thought it was great. Yeah. Anyways. Oh, and by the way, it says on Audible that this is also, it says for lovers of Jane Eyre and Rebecca. It has nothing to do with Rebecca. It's completely a Jane Eyre retelling. Yeah, so I don't really know what's up with that, but I'm just letting you know. Anyways, prompt 4, Tool Witch. Read a story with a BIPOC character. Music of the Night by Angela J. Ford. Okay, so I gave this one 3 stars, and I always have to say with 3 stars, 3 stars for me means that I liked it. However, I feel like I was getting pretty depressed into my depression when I read this, so I feel like maybe I would have liked it more if it had been a different time, because it just seems like a book that I would really like. So I might reread it in the future, or maybe a different one in the series. But yeah, this is about a young woman who works in a theater, and she dreams of being like the lead singer in an opera, and she's also kind of forced to be in the opera due to unfortunate circumstances. And it's very interesting the way that it weaves together like a retelling of the Phantom of the Opera and Beauty and the Beast, and how it weaves in the love stories and entangles them. And yeah, the imagery was beautiful. So I really do feel like I just should have enjoyed this one more. So I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, prompt 5. Gaywick. Read a classic story featuring LGBTQ characters. Again, for me, Wife in the Attic. And 6, I did not fulfill, which is The Moonflower, a story with an exotic setting. Yeah, I didn't get to that. 7's prompt was The Wife in the Attic. Read a retelling of a classic Gothic story. So yeah, I read The Wife in the Attic. But also, Music of the Night is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. So yeah, they don't all have to be answered as the Phantom of the Opera. You know. Okay. So here's some other books I read in February, because I didn't stick to reading Gothic romance like I'd been waiting to have an excuse to binge for 2 months. However, I am happy to say that I have, and maybe Bad has, I'm not 100% sure if she's finished one of these, but maybe we have, but 100% I have finished all of Chandler Morrison's books that he has so far published. So, I read Human Shaped Fiends. This is a ridiculous book, okay? I may enjoy this more than a lot of other people. This is an extreme horror western. A western extreme horror. About a sheriff who's trying to track down these basically kids who are committing murder near his small little town. But it's also metafiction, so it switches to the process of Chandler Morrison writing this book, and I know a lot of people hate that, but I found it entertaining, because I think he's kind of a funny guy, and I think he's so unabashedly, oh my god, LA, that I think he's making fun of himself, but who knows? And also I found it funny that even though he was trying to retell a Western story, he refused to use derogatory terms. So he still used, instead of saying, like the N word and slurs and stuff, he'd say, here comes the Black indigenous people of color in a historic retelling. It was just like, alright, but is it the greatest? No. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Probably more than most people. Okay, yeah. And then I read Just to See Hell, which is his collection of short stories. I'm not a huge fan of short stories in general, so this is definitely on the lower end of the books that I like by him. Probably like the bottom of the barrel. But oh my god, the last story is like actually like, I don't know what you'd call a novelette, and it's, oh my goodness, very offensive to some people. I'll say that. And then I reread Dune because I was gonna go see Dune Part 2. But I didn't. But, yeah, I actually did it on audio, but I have this really pretty edition. So, yeah. It's Dune. It's good sci-fi. It's fun. If you like sci-fi and you haven't read Dune, go for it. So, if you listen to me ramble for 30 minutes, thank you so much. Yeah, just felt like making a video finally today. So, thank you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.